Hello everyone, welcome to Gems of Arabia. It's a pleasure to have you all here with me on this Algeria podcast. We'd like to thank Maral Artinian for making all of this happen. It's a pleasure being at your office. Thank you for having us at your beautiful office. We would like to start discussing about the magic of the metropolis and the magic of the landscapes of New York. Many of you have frequented New York. But starting with Maral, tell us, what is the influence that you have with your brand? There's clearly a resonance that comes from the landscapes.
Hi, Hatem. Hello, ladies, and welcome. I'm very happy to be here, and I want to thank my team, my Dubai team, for making this available for us and accommodating us here.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Marley New York, obviously with the name and with the inspiration that says that New York is inspired by, Marley New York is inspired by New York City. And it's inspired by the spirit and the architect of the city. You will see a lot of infusion from the contemporary architect and the culture. I mean, there's like so many different elements that really speaks and are part of the brand ethos and the brand values. So basically, in a very simple word, New York is the muse and the background of the brand. So, it's sitting walking in the streets, landscaping and architecture. It's all a big part of the inspiration for the brand, and you see that in many of the motifs and many of the designs. There's a spirit also. It's not only the architectural part of it, but also the spirit, the inclusivity, the diversity. So all of this plays a big role. And it's actually, I really wanted to translate what I feel and what I see in New York into design, into a jewelry collection.
There's, like we had discussed earlier on, my favorite capture was the Art Deco feel. Very kind of 1930s, capturing an era that is my favorite throughout New York history. Fantastic, thank you. Ray, how are you doing?
Good, I'm doing great. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Tell us, how would you incorporate this kind of synergy with classic design within your community of fashionistas or even people who appreciate the vintage elements in which you champion?
I think classical designs and fine jewelry and brands, let's say, that are mindful like that, because I truly believe luxury is mindful like that. I think it's very easy to incorporate for those who care about the quality, care about the craftsmanship, care about the idea and the thinking and the story that inspired pieces. And I think it's when you come from a place where you take your style and how you carry yourself aesthetically with the pieces that you choose, when you take that, something that is you're passionate about and you like to express yourself using these tools, I think incorporating jewelry such as Marley pieces and other fine jewelry pieces becomes kind of part of the story you're telling with your style, right? You add this piece. Let's say you're someone who loves Art Deco and appreciates fine jewelry, you'll find perfect Marley pieces that kind of feed that and showcases that interest that you have in a very subtle and beautiful way that adds value and also speaks truth to who you are, the person. So I think it's a matter of just maintaining authenticity, which is I know something that is
we like
you're
that
big on, yeah, and maintaining authenticity and style. And I think with the mindfulness that comes with that, comes incorporating different elements, including fine jewelry and everyday attire.
Absolutely. Tamara.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Great.
It's good to have you in Dubai.
Thank you for having me here.
It's our pleasure, thank you. Tell us, you've been pioneering retail for quite some time now. Actually, a former neighbor of mine as well.
Yes.
And I've seen the progress, I've seen how far you've come. It's really, we're very proud of you. Tell us, what is your impression of the metropolis when it comes to landscapes that kind of resonate the most, in inspiration for your collections that you curate with the designers that you work with?
Yeah. So with a lot of the designers we have, most of them are local designers or from within the region. And a lot of them draw their inspiration from I'd say a combination of our heritage and our tradition, which is very rich and strong, as well as combining it with the modernity and making it a little bit more, I'd say, definitely a lot more modern.
Yeah.
And what they do is they fuse the culture into more contemporary pieces. So we see a lot of, for example, with the colors, might be inspired from like the sand dunes, which we also see in terms of the urban landscape. For example, in Riyadh, the National Museum of Saudi was inspired by the colors of the sand dunes. So you do see that in clothing as well, the palm trees, which is more the natural elements, certain types of embroidery. So what we see year on year is a fusion of, tradition and the culture meeting the contemporary.
Fantastic. There is a resonance when it comes to empowerment, and it comes to the cosmopolitan, and when it comes to what Marli's relationship to New York is. What is Marli's relationship to New York?
So Marley New York, it's very intertwined in terms of brand philosophy, which some of them are diversity, inclusivity. And one of the very important aspects, New York is very welcoming. It's a very, very welcoming city. It's very diverse, and everybody comes there from different walks of life, and there's a lot of possibility. And so that resonates a lot with the brand, because Marley is a very welcoming brand, and so it's really like what we, the way we want to, what our customers and our audience to feel about it is that warmth, that reach it, it's a very reachable brand. It's very close to the heart, and so we really want to infuse that through our designs, and of course it's very important to mix between imperfecting the craftsmanship and then still keeping that feeling of welcomeness into the brand.
There's a question that's coming up. We're going to be discussing it later. It's about how it's a melting pot, but I believe that Ray is also quite in tune with New York ethos and mentality and the way things work and what is appreciated. So what makes New York a melting pot, and how do you merge your ethos when you're in New York versus when you're back in Riyadh, the clientele and the perception of the fashion itself?
Sure. How New York is a melting pot. I mean, I think in this globalized world, with travel being so much easier and life, everything becoming more accessible with technology and different things, I think a lot of places are melting pots. However, New York, first off, let's say it's been a melting pot since before this movement started. And another thing that makes it a melting pot, let's say, for creatives, beyond just different nationalities being in the same geographical space together, New York is really welcoming it, and people there, the culture is very open to exploring. People are willing to look into things that are new. If you're someone who has a new idea or comes from a background that, let's say, is a bit unique, the fear of backlash or the fear of being misunderstood or not finding enough or not finding people welcoming enough, that is not there in New York, because people are just very open, very willing to hear and curious about the world and what's happening. And I think that led to the diversity in culture and this sense of openness that if you're creative, you go there and you feel like you can breathe more, because you just know that you can just express and there will be someone who can receive that expression from you. As for how I incorporate that, I believe there is something about New York that I think is integral to my personality right now. There is a certain type of attitude that you go about life with, and there's a certain sense of, let's say, go-getting, type of attitude, and this sense of openness and passion about telling the stories and being this welcoming and this utilizing yourself and what you create as a tool for expression. That's something that I carry with me and keep it near and dear to my heart. And I try to take that impact that New York had on me and marry it with the culture that we have here, marry it with the different aspects that we're trying to bring within our culture, and use those tools in creating platforms, brands, access to culture and creative things in the region. So it's definitely is giving me the skill set, and that's something I'm always going to be grateful for.
And which you are also doing it beautifully.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I think,
Of
like,
course.
you know, once New York is infused in you, you can never get out of your
Halas.
system.
Yeah, that's 100%.
And you take it with you everywhere. And this is what I love about the experience that you get from there.
100%.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've spent a great many years in New York, and for me, it was a source of inspiration. How I got bitten by the fashion bug and became really passionate about it is thanks to New York. Tamara, so this fusion that you're creating, a narrative that you have built since day one, where you kind of a lot of your creatives that you curate, designers, accessory designers, and so forth, are also people who are inspired by the West.
Yes.
How much is that so, and what kind of influences do you see that's merging with both of them? I mean, who are the ones that are kind of tapping into both worlds? Who are the ones who are kind of still holding on to what this traditional style is? Like, for example, Kurbos, you know, I think someone who really sticks to his ethos.
Yes.
But then also you have more progressive designers who take it to the next level, you know?
Yes.
I love what Kurbos is doing, and it's a whole other style. But then you also have that diversity. How do you find the balance between that and the real traditional?
So I think it's very interesting how, first of all, like just globally, the trends have obviously changed, and now modest wear is really trending, even in the West. You know, you'll go to places like Ibiza, Mykonos, and people are in, you know, they use them as like beach kaftans, you know, even if you're in New York or London, I started to see people wearing things that I could easily wear back home, you know, as abaya. So I feel like it's not so much that they're inspired by the West. I feel like there's actually, it's kind of merged what's trending globally. There are designers that are definitely more focused on sticking to certain modest wear like the traditional abaya, because that sells very well back home and it has a very strong market. At the same time, you'll have the exact same designer who sells these abayas, makes the pieces a bit more contemporary. So, for example, they'll make it like a blazer cut, you know.
This is a abaya, by the way. This is a trench abaya by Noor Sulaiman.
Yeah, which you could wear as a trench coat in the summer, for example. You know, blazers that are, you could wear as
changing
coats.
the narrative, literally.
Yeah, literally. And we recently actually had a pop-up in Al Ula, and the majority of the customers were from abroad, from Europe. And most of them bought abayas, but it's because they felt like they could wear it. One of them was like, I can wear this in Germany. Oh my God, I can wear this in London. So it's not necessarily just for Saudi anymore. There are some designers, like you have Nasiba Hafiz, like Ruba Dayani, for example. They have more ready-to-wear pieces. Some of them are a little bit like they have, for example, Nasiba has crop tops, which she's been doing, you know, for 10 years now. You know, Ruba does these beautiful dresses. Some of them have like, you know, certain cutouts that are a little bit, you know, more risque. But a lot of the women back home will wear them, maybe in more of a female setting. And then, you know, that's something that anyone around the world can wear as well. So I think there is definitely some sort of inspiration from the West in terms of their trends. But I also find what's more, what I would like to highlight is that I feel like this modest wear trend is kind of
Here to stay.
Here to stay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And if I may add, I also think again, just to go back on the point of globalization, you see a lot of designers that are, you know, taking this traditional elements that they've always been surrounded by, and just by virtue of living in this world with access to so many things, they'll find themselves impacted by so many different references, and they just translate. It's not really a conscious attempt into translating something so that it fits this market or that market. Rather, they're just their personalities and their vision is impacted by so many elements that it just translates naturally. And because of this globalization, it appeals to a natural global audience. I mean, and I've seen abayas in New York. Believe it or not, I've had people visit Saudi for work ventures and stuff like that who pick up abayas, make them a little bit shorter, maybe like ankle height, and then wear them with jeans and a t-shirt, and it's a fabulous weekend outfit, right? So يعني things are really changing, and this exposure is helping a lot.
And just to draw on that, you don't actually have to shorten them anymore. I feel like a lot of our abayas are actually getting shorter and they're not buttoned up anymore. They're open, so you can wear like a really cool outfit underneath, and just it kind of complements it as your coat.
True.
So it's definitely changing. Pieces are becoming a lot more contemporary. That's definitely where it's going in the region. I think that's what allows it to fuse with, you know, the customer from the West, because it's not just European people from Mexico, Argentina. Like, it's crazy. We get online orders from random countries, and I'm like, how did they even find out about us, you know? And they're shopping for, you know, certain products like the abaya, but they're obviously going to wear it differently.
It's so cool to see our tradition becoming a fashion statement that the world celebrates,
Yes.
you know. But speaking of celebration of style and essence and individuality and core values that your brand has, you have managed to capture all the elements of staying true to your DNA, but at the same time also still cosmopolitan, still able to appeal to a global and youthful market. How do you manage to keep that resonance and fluidity with each concept?
Hearing all this, information right now, like I'm absorbing everything, and I think the fact that your culture is very, very rich, this allows you to really give more, you know. Yeah. And to me, this is very important because, like, I come from a very, I have a family, like, I was born in this industry, and I understand the business, and of course, the heritage is important. Like, today we are here, like, in a very global world, and we understand how the changes are happening, like social changes and cultural changes. But again, like, if you are rich in your roots, if you are rich in your history, and you have, like, that very strong grounded roots, you keep that in with you, and then you actually add and you melt to what's happening right now in the culture with the social changes, but you also see it from your own perspective, right? Because you want to blend with it, but you want to keep yourself. And this is what,
your identity.
Identity and your individuality, because you want to express, but you want to keep your exceptionalism when you are expressing about something. And you want to add your touch. It's like we all want to say something in this world the way, we see it. But we want to stay true to ourselves. And this is how, Marley really keeps those, like, brand DNA very strong. I have certain aesthetic, and I really stay true to those ethos, to those aesthetic, because it's very important to me, because it's my identity. And again, like, yes, New York is a very open, multicultural, and it's always forward thinking, right? And of course, when I travel now, I see many places around the world. It's changing, and that globalization is happening everywhere. Today, a person in the US can easily connect with the person in Saudi, a person in Europe, because we are very intertwined in terms of culture. And what's gathering us together is our experiences, and what we are, what we are, during our travels, what we are seeing, and how we are infusing these experiences. So to me, like, all of this is very important, and then to express yourself, but then you really have to keep your DNA very strong.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
That's the most important thing.
Fantastic. Ray, talking about the collaborations that have kind of impacted you, especially when it comes to fine jewelry, and there's certain lines that we cannot kind of cross, and certain ways of keeping things. Being such an expert in vintage and celebrating so many beautiful pieces that I've seen on you, and that you're very much aware of, what do you think would be the best way of collaboration if, for example, a fine jewelry maker wants to collaborate, or
Between fine jewelry and
it could be a designer, or it could be even someone who is into fashion, or someone.
I think there's, I'm big on being mindful with fashion, and I'm big on luxury, but the right definition of luxury. Fine jewelry, by definition, is mindful and luxurious. It cannot be fast. It's a process that it always involves a lot of research and thinking and inspiration, and then telling a story, and, the craftsmanship and making it. You cannot make fine jewelry on a whim. It's something that has to be thought through and processed, and that's something that if you're talking to me, And whether with my ventures and what I do, or with the brands that I work with and represent, all of it always is centered around that idea of mindfulness and the idea of crafting a narrative and telling a story that resonates. And that's always something, it's a common factor, I believe, between, let's say, the line of work that I do and the types of brands that I work with and associate with, and fine jewelry. There is always that little part where
you share the values.
You share the values and you have the same outlook. There's a belief in craftsmanship. There's a belief in being mindful. You don't buy a very high-end fine jewelry piece to just go substitute it next month with another. It's a very, it avoids that wasteful mentality. It's a very mindful. I keep repeating the same word, but that's the word that comes to mind. Yeah. It also involves a story. So somehow there's a lot of, because of this commonality, there's a lot of stories that could be woven and told. And where that commonality is the center of that, and telling a story that resonates with the markets and the customers that we both seek to attract. And I believe the customer base, in my experience, is often overlaps. People who care about fine jewelry, who care about what it represents, how it was made, all of these details, and have knowledge about it, not just see it on the surface level, are often people that care about the narrative, the story of the things that I do, whether it's vintage, whether it's working with regional brands. All of these aspects kind of overlap, and that's the perfect, I believe, point of collaboration. This is a perfect, it's a shared ethos. It's a shared value that helps us bring things to our customers and make them happy about it.
I remember that the Harrods Hive, you had a sentence that resonated with me, and it said about luxury is mindfulness.
Luxury is so mindful.
Which is so true.
If it's not mindful, it's not luxury.
Yeah. Great sentence. Tamara, so tell us about any specific collaborations that kind of resonate with you, that you've maybe seen done or you have been able to create through your designers over the years.
So collaborations of pieces?
Collaborations of pieces, collaborations between different designers. It could be West and East, or it could be kind of even local.
So what's really great about the Homegrown, what we have is it's a creative community. It's not just like a store where we have, different designers. And what's really great is sometimes they actually collaborate with each other. So we have jewelry designers, we have obviously fashion designers as well, we have beauty. And within, for example, like photo shoots, a lot of them will come together where one of them will use the jewelry pieces, of her fellow designer, especially if they have a certain collection that speaks to like her collection, and they'll fuse those together in one shoot. The same person shopping for that fashion piece is also probably going to want to buy a jewelry piece as well, or an accessory as well to go along with it. So we do see a lot of that happening as well. There are brands that come together for a collection, which is also great to see. And then regarding East and West, one collaboration we did, which was a really fun one, was with Casio. We did it a couple of years ago, and it was their Baby G watch, which was very nostalgic for me. And with us, like a lot of our identity was to do with the palm tree. So we used the palm leaves on the straps, and it was just like a really nice, fun collab, to have like this brand that I grew up, wearing their watches, come and collaborate with, our local brand, Homegrown. So yeah.
You literally started building this community that wasn't there. It was a place for designers to be able to go to. Not everyone's able to have their own retail, and you literally single-handedly created that environment. So hats off to you, really.
Thank you so much. It was a pilot project to begin with.
No, but look where you are now, 10 years later.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
So
I think it's really all about community building and bringing all the creatives together.
And also there's so much talent back home, so it's amazing to see them grow. Some designers have been with us for 10 years. Everyone's been through so much. The pandemic was tough on a lot of people, put a lot of retail businesses, out of business, especially in New York. It was really sad, for me to see a lot of the stores boarded up. I was so shocked. A lot of my favorite stores don't exist anymore. So it's really, honestly, it's amazing to look at some of our local brands who were able to, really push through, and they survived, so I'm super proud of them.
Fantastic. Maral, what do you think about the concept of collaboration in general, and what kind of collaborations has Marley kind of involved themselves in?
So in terms of collaboration, as the creative force and the visionary of the brand, of course, there's many creative aspect or many areas that I of course hire designers or hire creative for example, our store design is done by a very special architect from New York, and we collaborate together, and we started actually on a very small project with him, and then today every year we design 2-3 store, and then what was interesting we really of course, first of all, to collaborate with any type of a designer or a brand, you need to have the same DNA and the same what we were saying, you have to be in sync, obviously, and you have to see the creative vision the same way to be able to work together, because I think it's challenging, but then when you find the right partner or the right designer or the right brand, then the synergy is actually very impactful. So in that area, we are working with architects. We, of course, we do collaboration with influencers. This is another thing that we do, but we are growing, and then there's a lot of plans ahead of us. There's a lot of things on our agenda, and I'm sure we will. You will
using
see it.
stones from Saudi Arabia.
Yes, we were talking about this earlier, because
Yes.
of course, different markets, they always tell me so what can you do exclusive for us? And then, and to me, it's every market is very special, obviously, and to be honest, to be suddenly a global brand, shifting from that New York brand to become global, I have to take steps into really merging all this and understanding how I'm going to do the collaboration or exclusive collection for each market. So yes, one of the examples bringing stones from Saudi Arabia to be cut in-house, especially for our Cleo collection, because I was telling you the Cleo collection, the stones are very special, cut for, it's owned by the brand. So yeah,
I'd love to reserve a piece of that.
And my team, they always show me. I mean, when you talk about the palm and then the lavender color, so I see this it's very inspirational. So it's always in the back of my head, and then we always look actually for local talents to partner with them, especially when there's for example, Saudi National Day or there's UAE National Day. We like to partner with local talent because we want to use their muse and their voice in the market.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. And there's almost last question, but just one question. So I would like to start again with you. Empowerment and how the kind of empowerment that people get when they wear, especially the women, when they wear the jewelry. It's just kind of contagious, very much reminiscent of New York energy and New York dynamism. Why is empowerment so important to the brand?
So. Again, it comes from the spirit of the city. I mean, we all know, New York is a very straightforward, very, you really have to have that strong stamina, to be able to live in a city like New York. And of course, I encounter a lot of women, and I always say, it's not about when you wear the piece of jewelry or when you when you put a piece of clothes, you're empowered. It's actually, you are that person. And the way you do it, you express yourself in that way. You express your individuality. You have a story to tell. So you're already empowered and you have that ability and you want to say something. So this is when you choose your narrative. You choose what kind of jewelry you want to wear, what kind of fashion you're gonna. It's a statement. You want to talk about it. So, and the strong, of course, the features and geometrical features of the design, if we want to take it from a motif perspective, it's very strong, it's very Art Deco, it's very, so it has that bold sophistication, but yet it's very subtle. So you want to tell something, you don't want to be loud, but you still want to communicate a message.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you. Can fashion or accessories be empowering, and how so?
100%. It's... listen, whether we like it or not, what we put on can make us feel amazing or make us feel really small and insecure. So obviously, fully agree with you. I think the essence of who you are should impact what you wear and get translated in the items that you wear, not vice versa. However,
so showing your identity is about empowerment?
Of course, showing the identity is empowerment, and also what you choose ultimately fashion is a self-expression, is a form of expression, self-expression and just cultural also expression, but on a personal level, it's self-expression. So you can communicate who you are and empower yourself as you walk into a room, as you go to a meeting, or let's say an award show, or whatever it is. You can dress yourself and choose the items that will communicate the message that you would tell. And that goes to the mindfulness, even when you style yourself. You know, if you do it properly, then you're sending the right message, staying true to who you are, and that by definition is empowering. So 100% yes, the answer. Yeah.
Fantastic. And someone who has been empowering a lot of people in Jeddah and Saudi Arabia. But tell us, Tamara, do you think that fashion accessories can actually do that?
100%. Like Ray said, you can either feel like you're on top of the world based on what you're wearing, or if you don't feel, if you're not feeling what you're wearing, actually, it can play with your confidence. And I think in terms of empowerment, it's definitely, I'd say that can help, how you feel about yourself. But I think with us, one thing I really want to talk about is the power of our community and how we empower each other. And I think that's what keeps a lot of us going. There are a lot of super supportive women and men, who are supporting our designers during the pandemic. One woman came in and bought like 22 pieces, and I was like, who's shopping during this pandemic, And it was a lady who came, and she wanted to meet me. And I was surprised. She's like, I never leave my house, especially not in the middle of a pandemic. But I wanted to come here and support every single woman that is working so hard. And so she came and she tried to buy a piece from every single designer. She was like, this is what I can do. And so that's what she did. She bought 22 pieces from as many designers as she could, just to support them. So that's the kind of community and empowerment that we get from each other. And it's honestly so beautiful.
No, that's empowering. I mean, I have to say that you started in an era where Saudi was not open, and designers didn't really have an ecosystem. And there really wasn't a place to go to until, I would say 6 years. And things, Military classes started opening up, vision to 2030. So for sticking to your guns and being able to still keep the community and go on.
Yeah,
bravo.
But it's women like her that empowered me, because I was at the brink of like, I'm gonna give up. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, is it worth it? And then you have certain people that show up like that, and they show up for you, for the community, for, the women. And it's honestly, it's so heartwarming that kind of gives you that booster.
You can
keep
both
going.
get credit, by the way. You can both get credit for your efforts. It's fine, right? So our last question, which is our signature question, what is authenticity to you?
So, Marley and me were very intertwined as well. So whatever I say about the brand, Marley stays true to its ethos, to its brand identity and all of that. And I'm like that as well. Sometimes I say it's a little bit too much because what you see is what you get. But it's a good thing because, I always say, one of my first quote that really, got my attention is like, be yourself, because you cannot be someone else. You have to be true to yourself. And especially like a lot of time when people ask me about one of the questions I'm always asked, what is the most important thing? And I always say you have to be true to yourself. You have to have your identity. Of course, we can always add a little bit of salt and pepper, let's say, but you have to have your identity. You have to be true. So if I'm Art Deco, I would stay Art Deco.
Okay. And that's one of my favorite elements of what is indicative of the brand. As I was saying, my favorite era was 1930s, kind of New York chic. Yeah. The attire and how everyone was so kind of going all out with the fashion. Yeah. So it's really a great era to consider. Ray, I know we've done this before. Yeah. But let's see what.
I fully agree with you. Staying true to yourself is so essential, and I believe it's not essential for your own sense of identity, purpose, and place in this world. I really believe staying true to yourself is a tool that will open doors for you. Because if you are not that, then you will not be able to navigate through life in the most empowering way for yourself, just because you're always not carrying that authenticity that you should. I always say we always have a filter. I used to call them salt and pepper. We have different influences. We get impacted. I lived in New York. I lived in different parts of the world, and same as I believe for all of us. And we're impacted by that. I'm Saudi. Does that affect my authenticity? It doesn't, because whatever I come and get impacted by goes through my filter, and it gets translated through the eyes of my past experience and the roots that I come from. So it'll always carry that, but translated with those experiences in mind, because it is authentically who I am. It is something that I authentically went through. So that is it. It's just knowing yourself so well and staying true to it, and having that as your filter as you go about life, and that'll open doors. I really believe that. I really believe that's a key to opening doors with people, with opportunities, social, business, all of it, and also most importantly to your own peace. So that's my definition of authenticity.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. The first thing I wrote down was authenticity is being true to yourself. And it's so funny that all three of us kind of had that, but it's literally the first thing I thought of. But elaborating on it, authenticity is being true to yourself, to your identity, to your roots, your experiences, and your energy. Being original is so important. And I think also not, even if people don't believe in you, can't see your vision, think you're crazy, think what you want to do is impossible, as long as your gut feeling is like, yes, it makes sense to me and I can do it, then you're on the right path. And I read this thing recently and it said, people can copy your ideas, but they can never copy your energy.
100%.
And so most likely they won't succeed. Because if it's not originally their idea and they're just like, oh, I'm going to copy her jewelry, it looks really pretty, let me try and make it, I'm going to stop somewhere. I'm going to run out of ideas. I don't have that energy. I don't have that drive. You know, the intention is probably wrong because they're in it, you know, for the wrong reasons. So.
Okay. I'm copywriting all of those, by the way. Huh? Just so you know. Huh?
But actually, it's very true, because I always say Marley has a soul. So it's the spirit and the soul that, me and of course my team, we infuse in it. And that's something you can never copy 100%.
Absolutely, essence. But speaking of which, I would like to thank Maral for making this happen. It's truly a pleasure to have met all of you again and just for us to sit and discuss our passions. But I'm also very proud of the brand, because the brand also kind of comes from our area and it has flourished. So it makes us also very proud, so we salute you and thank you for having us all today.
Thank you. I'm actually also, I just want to say a last thing. I'm actually proud to be here and to be, I don't want to it's like a movement, but it's a very nice movement. It's a very nice social movement. And Marley being recently launched in Saudi and being in this movement, it's really, I have goosebumps and then I like it. And then I feel like, I'm part of this wave.
Yeah.
And so proud to be.
Well,
thank you.
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Great to have
Thank you very much.
And ahlan wa sahlan. Inshallah, we'll see you in Saudi next time.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yes.
Thank you. And also a special thanks to Yasmin and Lina and the team and everyone. Thank you for helping us all get this thing together as well.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.